Awesome, awesome, awesome. Great. So, Allie, let me do your formal introduction. We'll toast and then we'll get right into it. Are you excited?
Yeah.
You know, I would be remiss if I didn't mention, like, you're looking like Pink in the early 90s, girl. And I love it.
There you go. Look it. You know when Pink was making R&B music?
Listen,
girl.
Okay, Candy, the girls were riding for Pink.
You know she's the white Keisha Cole.
Wait.
They look the same. They look the same.
I have not considered this.
I have receipts. They're the same person.
Wow. So Allie Thatcher is a designer, illustrator, and owner of Fallen Cargo. Based in New England, she specializes in branding, development, and visual storytelling. So some of her work includes the artwork for Converse's Breaking Down Barriers collection, package and brand design with Hasbro, statement making pieces, apparel pieces that you've likely seen and try to cop. From her own brand, Fallen Cargo, and so much more. Really with design, she strives to spark meaningful conversations about social issues to challenge perspectives. And honestly, she does it better than most people, which I appreciate. So you can find her at Fallen Cargo, but please, y'all join me in welcoming Allie.
And we did Grow Where You're Planted. We worked on that together too.
We sure did. Listen, we're gonna get to it. We're gonna get to it. So
I'm gonna be gassing you up the whole time.
Before we get into the bookmaking and checking in with the chat, we do have a couple of signature drinks. So the mezcal, which I'm gonna make and personally drink, and then there's also the second drink option, which is the Ward 8 option with the bourbon. If you are drinking the mezcal, you'll need, of course, mezcal, 1.5 ounces, simple syrup, 0.75 ounces. In the email, I put 75 ounces, but I hope y'all know that we should not be putting 75 ounces of anything in one drink. So my bad, we're growing, we're moving forward, but I was like, oh my God, 75 ounces. So 0.75 ounces, peach nectar, I have mine in this. 0.75 ounces, 0.25 ounces of lime juice, and then topping it off with some ginger beer. So I pre-made mine, and shout out to Leishla. So really a couple things. One, I picked up some drinks somewhere and someone was like, oh, like I see you doing the drink thing now. Okay, da 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 da. And I didn't even really think about it like that, but when I think about, sometimes when I want to feel, whether it's like luxurious or like something is like special, or, I just want to, take care of myself, sometimes I'll make myself a little fancy cocktail. And I think that's an important part, right, of like creating that, whether it's the happiness that you seek or the experience that you seek. Like something that's really important to me is living by like, if I'm gonna have a good time, like it's up to me to have a good time, right? Or if I'm gonna try to tap in and find some joy, like that's really up to me and no one else's, responsibility. So I think that's where the idea came from, of like, making drinks. And in this case, the bookmaking is the new thing that we're learning, but I do most things while sipping a little cocktail or some wine on the side. So we're going to do that here too. And do I have everything? I do. So I have everything in my mixer. I'm going to do a quick shake. And Leishla.
Okay. Go ahead.
Leishla is an amazing barista based in Providence. And she worked with us on the last set of drinks, and she curated this menu as well. And really, I came to Leishla saying, I have mezcal and I have bourbon, and I'm looking to, have a drink that's delicious and fall inspired. Like, what's good? What can we make? So she really put the the menu together. And the drinks are delicious. I always say that, but they are. So shout out to Laishla. And if you are interested in tipping her, she's super dope. I'll send the information, but you can also do that at Laishla Maldonado, Maldonado on Venmo. And also, First Year Project is also accepting donations via Venmo as well at FYP-LLC. I'll also send this in email / via social, but just wanted to thank Laishla, and I'm super excited to have this drink. So if you're having a drink, cheers. Thank you for joining us tonight for this conversation and making some books.
What type of mezcal did you get? Because I got the one with the worm in it.
Excuse me, the worm?
Yes, that was the one that I found. I was like, oh, it's okay.
You know what's great? I think about, well, I won't say this about just tequila, but Alexis, bartender extraordinaire. Big ups, Laishla. Yep. Come through, Jinx. Keisha. Sorry, I'm just reading the chats. Okay, so to answer your question, I bought the affordable. Like I bought the pint mezcal. It's a bit smoky, so it actually tastes right, kind of like you're tasting smoke. But with the right mixture, it actually makes a really, really good drink. And again, if you're making the bourbon drink, like I hope you cheers to that as well. It has been a tough week, but the hope is that we can get our laugh on, get our craft on. Oh wow, I didn't even need for that to but yeah, like tapping into a bit of joy. Okay, cool. So great. Bookmaking.
Yeah.
Allie, can you tell us a little bit about a saddle stitch book?
Yeah.
And then like a little context around like what you can do with it. So I've shared, right? Like you can use it as a journal for yourself or give to others, right? You can put photos. There's so much stuff that you can do with the saddle stitch book. So yeah, take it away.
Well, like bookmaking is one of those things. Like some people stress eat. I just like stress and make books because I just need to make something. But a saddle stitch book, I chose that because I feel like it's a very simple form of bookmaking, and there's so many different types of binding. Saddle stitch book, I think this kind of gives a good example, like a saddle of like a horse saddle. But a saddle stitch book is just basically a stack of papers with a cover stock, and it's sewn down the middle, right down the spine. And I feel like it'll be super easy, super fun. Ooh, look at you. Okay.
Oh, I didn't make this, girl. Like don't get twisted.
I didn't make that one either. I didn't make this one either.
No. Okay, good. I was like, wait a second.
I didn't make that one either.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, I feel like it's a super simple activity. And they're great gifts. I love giving my friends books and journals, and I'm like a nerd for sketchbooks. I have so many sketchbooks, whether I make them or I buy them. Another example of a saddle stitch book are composition notebooks. I have stacks and stacks of these. And usually you open up in the middle, there's a huge seam or there's a huge stitch down the middle. So like imagine this as just being a stack of papers. This is just one sheet and you sew it right down the middle. It's very simple. So we'll go through some of the steps of how to do that. And if we fuck up the instructions, it's okay. You can Google it, right?
Listen. Boom. Okay, so what is the first thing that I need? And then I have a question for you.
Okay, so get 5 sheets of paper, like regular computer paper or regular line paper, and 1 sheet of cardstock. And once you get those things, yes, once you get those things, then you want to fold them in half, but fold each sheet individually. Don't like put all the papers together and then fold it because it's just going to be all messy.
Yeah. All right. So let's do that right now. So Allie, one thing that I think isn't talked about enough is like there's a special gift, right? And like being aware that like you have choices or that you have options, especially when it comes to like building a life and kind of figuring out, oh, like I do have choice in the life that I want to live and kind of like my like life's work. So I guess my question to you is, what experience or person like sparked your interest in design? And when was the actual moment when you felt like you could do this for like your life's work? So not just like in an art class or for school, but like I can make a living from this and like I want to do this for my life.
I can distinctly remember like being in 8th grade and being like, I want to be a graphic designer. I don't know what it was, but I think all the things that I was consuming like at that age was like Vibe magazine, The Source, watching a lot of music videos. And I spent a lot of time on the internet, especially like during the blog era when you had like Concrete Loop, Two Dope Boys, all that stuff. And even just being on the internet and learning how to do graphic design just through other people's work. So I feel like that was a time where I was like, I really like art. I like drawing. Graphic design is a career path that you can have and you can make a decent living doing it. So I was just like, yeah, I'll do it. And I also liked fashion and t-shirts, and I've always was enamored by the idea of having a clothing brand or like designing t-shirts, and that just seemed like the route to take in order for me to do that.
Wow. Can you share the story about how you came up with the name Fallen Cargo for your brand?
Yeah, I was in high school, and at that time, like the biggest brands that I loved were like Bathing Ape, even Bodega, Johnny Cupcakes, Obey Propaganda. Like all of those brands had at least Bodega, Johnny Cupcakes, and Obey. Like they have local ties to this area, whether you're in Providence or Boston. And I just loved how they had a specific theme and a community around it. Like it wasn't just about fashion. It wasn't just about putting something on a t-shirt. They stood for something beyond just the material. And I remember my brother, he got this like, this is when Ed Hardy was dope.
Ed Hardy, Lord have mercy.
And he got this Ed Hardy shirt, and I was like, yo, where'd you get that? And he was like, oh, don't worry about it. It fell off a truck. And I've always loved that phrasing. And so that's what kind of like, I was like, Fallen Cargo, that could sound kind of cool. Like something around that theme of like bootlegging. And
right off the truck.
And at that time, my concept for Fallen Cargo was it wasn't deeply tied to Black culture at the time. It was just like, oh, I like this idea of like having a clothing brand that's themed around packaging and like shipping. I remember one of my original ideas was to have like a delivery truck, like be the shop.
Hey.
So I was like 16, 17 at the time. And then as time went on, once I got closer to launching Fallen Cargo and just educating myself on how integral Black culture is, then it started to change its meaning once I started integrating that into what I wanted the brand to be about. And I don't know, it just took on a whole different meaning because I feel like that idea of like Fallen Cargo is all about the exclusive, right? Like getting the exclusive, not letting people know where you got your stuff.
Right.
Because you don't want people to bite off your style, right? But so often I feel like as Black people, like we already know what the exclusive is. We have this unlimited access to this innovation and this creativity that no matter who tries to duplicate it, like Justin Bieber will never be as dope as Chris Brown. You know what I mean? Like I always feel like our Blackness just has such a dope essence to it. And to me, that's what Fallen Cargo represents, is like that essence that even if they try to duplicate it, it will never be a part of our culture. It will never have that same taste, that same essence, that same cadence. And to me, that's what Fallen Cargo is.
Very dope. I can't believe like your mindset was even there in terms of like branding and like storytelling at like 16, 17. That's dope, Ellie.
But even prior to that, like I was like making clothes, like designing clothes in Microsoft Paint, like way before I even got into Photoshop, like in middle school. So it was just, I don't know, that was just something that I wanted to do, and I don't know, I stayed committed to it. But I took myself way too seriously as a kid.
Wait, did you have business cards? Did you have a resume like this is where you find me?
No, that wasn't until like 2013. I think I got business cards at 2013. I was like 19 at the time, maybe. But I feel like I took myself very seriously at that time, where I was like, I knew this is what I wanted to do, and I'm going to just like stay on that path and make it happen.
Okay. So I have my joints folded, which
Yes.
by the way, I used a ruler to smooth it down because folding it was not doing it for you, girl.
Yes. One of the things I forgot to mention is like the bone tool, which is like a really great art design tool. I don't know, I think they're just like whale bones or something like that. And that's what you do to like crease it.
Right.
And so once you got your sheets folded, you want to fit them inside each other just to kind of like form the book.
Okay.
And then put your cover stock on top.
Oh Lord. Here we go.
Yeah, and so this is your centerpiece. I'll show you a different version because this is where we're going to sew. And so we have to measure out the holes for where we're going to sew it.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, for example, this is a smaller one that probably fits in the seam a little bit better. Y'all can see it. So take your ruler and measure 1/4 inch all the way down. Does that make sense?
So you mean like a 1/4 inch? Like mark it with a pencil, a 1/4 inch.
Yeah.
Okay. Am I putting my clips on?
Exactly.
Am I putting my clips on?
Yeah. Put the clips on and secure it nicely. Huh?
Does it matter like if they go on the edge or the inside?
I like to clip it like right here.
Okay, perfect.
Keep it all together. And then, like I mentioned before, I'll bust out my ruler. And then just every 1/4 inch, you want to just mark a spot.
You know what's crazy? Like I try to act like I don't need glasses to see small things now. It's a problem. Okay. No, I got it. Here we go. 1/4 inch.
Yeah, and then once you mark out those spots, you want to poke a hole. You could use an X-Acto blade to poke the hole. For bookmaking, they do have very specific tools. Like this is a specific tool to poke holes in it. And then after poking the holes, then you want to start prepping your thread.
Okay, before we get to the thread and before we get to the poking holes, because you also know I have a fear of cutting myself.
Oh.
Question, and this is related to what we're doing right now, actually. How do you think your core identity as like a maker of things and like a crafter of things, how do you feel like that influences your approach to design? Or do you even feel like it influences your approach to design?
I mean, I grew up being a tinkerer and like building things. I used to do bike shows with my dad. And
What's a bike show? What do you mean by that?
Bike shows, like we build, like my dad's big into antique bikes.
Oh.
And like restoring bikes. And then we do lowrider bikes in Brockton. So we'd show bikes, and so like I just learned how to like build stuff. And to, you know, those toys that you get, like the skateboard toys, and they used to have these little BMX toys because I'm into BMX too. Those like little miniature bikes, and you could take them apart and put them back together. I used to do all that stuff.
Very dope.
So I don't know. I think just having that foundation early on of learning how to build something, learning how to use tools, influence the way that I make. Because even though I have the title of like designer and illustrator, at the very core, I'm a maker.
Right.
And then when you go to art school, you learn how to use so many different types of tools. Like your professors don't teach you, they teach you how to think, but for the most part, you have to learn how to just make stuff on your own. And so, um, but yeah, I feel like making is a huge part of my identity. It's a way of operating. Um, Most designers and artists I know how to just like build other things.
Right.
Um, because of the field that we're in, it just forces you to just learn how to do something on your own.
That's what it is. That's really what it is.
Like the whole like DIY thing is nothing new to
Oh
people
my
who've gone to art
God.
school because it's just like that's that's what you pay $40,000 a year to just DIY everything.
Listen, we're gonna have that college conversation at another point because maybe if I had a child right now, and this has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Oh no, go off.
If I had a child right now and they were like, I would like to go to a college right now in this environment,
No,
in a pandemic that costs, like $80,000 a year to do it virtually, like we would have to have a conversation.
we're not doing it. I don't even know why kids are going to college now. Like they should just boycott. And it sucks because like we've received the benefits of higher education, but at the same time, it's really not worth the $30,000 of debt. It really isn't worth it. And a
Or
lot of my friends who are in design who don't have an art school education, like they're they're fantastic and they learn very quickly. And there are so many other ways to educate yourself outside of spending so much money.
I agree. I agree. I think there are certain professions, right, where yes, you should be trained. And I think that training, of course, should be in a classroom or with books and like getting that practical,
Mm-hmm.
hands-on experience. However, those careers are on a much shorter list than the rest, the much longer list of careers where, you know, I think they keep changing the goalposts for
Get out
Black
on your own.
personally, right? But yeah, no, a lot of these careers you don't necessarily need a college degree,
So
or rather, it doesn't make you right like great at that thing.
no, there's still so much work that you have to do and so much learning on your own that you have to do once you get into a field.
Right.
I feel like college doesn't teach you how to be an artist. Life does.
Woo!
It really doesn't. They can provide you all the tools and resources to kind of understand the fundamental stuff, but there's so much learning that you do. There's so many things that you can't learn in college. Um, so I don't know. I just feel like if you're at that stage where you feel like you need to go to school to do something, don't put any pressure on yourself to go because it's not gonna always. I don't know. It's so tricky. You just have to know what you want to do.
Or be okay. Like when I was in college, honestly, I did not know what I wanted to do. So I think sometimes it's okay with not knowing what you want to do, but also, right, like then deciding, okay, then like how am I going to approach this? Like if I would like some time to explore, and to learn a little bit of this, learn a little bit of that, but I still want to graduate on time. You know what I mean? Like how do I want to approach this? And I mean,
Yeah.
not everyone has the luxury to do that. But yeah, man. So
I feel like I feel like now's the perfect time to do a gap year.
if there's any other time, listen. And did you see the X-Acto knife go like this? See, this is why I don't trust myself. Okay, so I have my dots. I'm not gonna
Okay.
do the one at the top. I'm gonna leave some space, right?
Hmm.
And now I need to poke through.
Yes, yes. I'm gonna also acknowledge that I probably messed up the measurements and I said quarter of an inch. I really meant half of an inch. But the thing is, stitching it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because I did this book and I made my stitches an inch big,
Uh-huh.
but it'll still look dope if it's small.
Okay.
Honestly, you can do however long of a stitch you want, but it'll still look fly because your paper is thin too, so it'll come out
Yeah.
pretty easily.
All right, let me focus on doing this, but I want to see the chat. They need to teach some surviving skills in schools, like building building a fire. I'm not mad at that.
Oh, and like, if I could just make a school, I'm about to be on some Umar Johnson Hotep shit.
Wait a
Build
second.
a school.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, where is this going? So, quick question though. So it needs to be this long, like the hole?
No, not the hole. The space between each hole.
Got it. Okay. Oh man. Okay. We're gonna see how this comes out, Allie. We are gonna see how this comes out.
Okay.
Okay.
The trick is now how to get my needles out of the thing.
Right. So after we make the holes, what's next after that?
Prepping your thread. So like I'm so surprised that you got beeswax. I am impressed.
Listen, okay.
I am
For the
impressed.
edges. This is apparently, I don't know. I don't use it for that. I went into the store and I said, excuse me, where can I find beeswax? And the woman was black and she was like, oh, right here. So I was like, oh, this is a common thing. But
Oh man. But yeah, the beeswax. So like prepping your thread. First of all, I'll show you just like how I measure how much string you need. You should. It all depends on how big your book is. So I just have this little small one as a test to show you, because if I use the big book, you're not going to see it on the screen. But you take sort of the length or the width of the book and you run through the string 5 times. So this is one pass through, and then that's another one. Does that make sense?
you said this one pass through, and then did you pass it through again? I think I missed that part.
It's just measuring out. So you want the string.
Oh, 5 times. So you're gonna do like one.
Yeah, and multiply that times 5.
Okay.
Just so you have enough.
Okay.
Do that with your thread, and then do that 5 times.
Okay. So
measure that length 5 times.
We talked about how you think your crafting, right, influences your approach to design, but how would you describe like how the world around you and like what's happening in the world impacts your approach to design?
Oh man, I mean, just being black, and like I just think like living in a patriarchal white supremacist capitalistic world as a black woman is one of the most fascinating experiences. It's heartbreaking, it's challenging. It can, I don't know, just being a black American is the strangest experience. Like really, when you like do your research and your history and you really like break it down, like this is a mind fuck. And unfortunately, like there's a lot of humor in it, and I feel like humor and cynicism does like influence the content of my work. You know, like I'm a huge fan of Dave Chappelle and Aaron McGruder, and yeah, man, there's just so much, so much material to work with and point out the absurdities of like the way that we live today. And then on a very technical, formal level, like a designer level, just paying attention, you know, like art school just teaches you how to look and pay attention to things. And so artists will pay attention to like details that maybe the normal person may not pay attention to. It could be just like the line in the road, or, you know, a paint splatter on somebody's wall, and we'd be like, oh, that's kind of dope. Or the typography on a cup or something like that. So those things all influence the way that I don't know, I just craft things and create things, and specifically for you know, fallen cargo work.
Can you show your shirt and talk a little bit about the context behind it? Because people can't see it, but this is the same as
my black society. It says love your blackness for the people who can't. I created this shirt because I feel like I think it's very easy for people to make a mockery of the transformation of Black people like Sammy Sosa who bleach their skin,
Mm-hmm.
and instead of like shaming them for it, I rather us like, let's look at it from a place of healing and a place of understanding, and really try to break down why these things happen. And like Sammy Sosa was so beautiful and so iconic, and it does break your heart that someone of that stature can does not like themselves,
Right.
does not like the skin that they're in. And two, I think I feel a certain responsibility to speak on colorism, especially being Cape Verdean, because that's something that is rampant, but it's rampant in all different cultures. Like
Yeah.
I felt it in Trinidad because my sister is a lighter complexion than me. I felt a difference in the way that I was. It's a very subtle thing. Because I remember when I was in Trinidad, my sister and my mom, they were going into town, into this area which was considered like a very wealthy area
Okay.
in Trinidad. And they were like, oh, this is where Ashley's my sister. They were like, this is where Ashley's people live.
Mm.
And it was just like, I don't know. And so, and I think that's just something that a lot of Black people experience, is like the colorism, and I feel like the even if you don't protest or boycott or whatever, the easiest thing you could do, I shouldn't say the easiest thing to do, but the most accessible thing you could do is love your Blackness. Like that pisses people off if you love the skin that you're in, and that's like revolutionary,
And I'm glad you framed it as like most accessible, because right, sometimes on some days that can be tough, like depending on what you're having to go through, the interactions that you're having, what's happening in the world. Like sometimes I personally love my Blackness.
Yes.
It's like a core part of my identity. But when I think of like, kids growing up in elementary school, middle school, high school, like across the gamut, and, having to be exposed to everything that's happening right now, and like constantly, right? Like with social media and with access to technology, it definitely has its pluses in terms of, being able to tap into things and connect with people who you may not be able to connect with because geography. But it's just also that there's a lot of immediate and incredibly frequent, right, access to hate.
Mhm.
So I think about that a lot with like children, particularly. Yeah.
And too, it's like I know we focus on Blackness, but that's like across the board. Like with just body image in general, it's just like there's so much telling you that you're not enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like and there's money made off of that, and that's what's crazy about it. So yeah, like I think, and two, like a huge part of the shirt, and I think this was sort of a theme in the White Lives Project, was just like forgiving yourself for what you did not know. Like so many Black people, I think, have gone through that space where we felt super insecure about the things that are Black, like whether it's our hair, whether it's our facial features, our skin. And sometimes you gotta be like, damn, like I really thought that way. I gotta you be okay with the fact that it's like, okay, like at one point you thought that way. We're all brainwashed into thinking these things. But
Mm-hmm.
as long as you're going through the journey to evolve and change your thinking, and start being like, oh man, it's messed up that I thought that way. Now I could change it, and now I could really like love the Blackness that I'm in,
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
every nigga goes through their misogynist phase.
What you mean? Wait, really quickly, and then I need
I
to know
feel
what I'm doing with this string.
yes. I
What
feel like
what am I doing with this string?
okay. So uh beeswax. So let me tell you, beeswax is not, I wouldn't say it's optional. It's optional, but beeswax does reinforce the string and make it stronger. It makes it just easier to put through the holes.
Okay.
And so you want to be able to drag the drag, we'll just say this is beeswax, and you want to be able to drag the string through the beeswax and get a nice coating on there. Is it working for you?
Yeah.
Ooh, your beeswax is soft.
Because I don't think it's raw. It can't be because this is too easy to get through, right?
But that's still good. That's still good.
Yeah, I think it'll work for this. Okay, what's next?
All right, where did I put my needle? Then thread your needle.
Can I tell you a secret?
Mm-hmm.
So I have always had difficulty with getting the needle in the thread. So these are the needles that I have. It doesn't matter which one I choose.
I try to find one where it's like that the string could fit through it. Because sometimes if the eye is too thick, it can be hard to get through the hole. I don't know if you can kind of see the one that I have. The eye is kind of.
Oh, your eye is much bigger than mine. Oh man, we're about to see how this works out.
And then once you get your needle thread, start stitching on the inside, because that's where the knot is going to be. So you can hide the knot on the inside of the book, because you want it to be nice and flush. Like this is another, like how this one is. See that it's knotted, it's tied in the center, and it's nice and flush on the spine.
How do I get the needle in this and how do I get the thread in this needle?
You just like do this. You just like,
no, that's not. That's not.
It's just patience. Like that's really what it is. It's just patience.
Oh nah, this is about to be bad. We'll figure it out.
But try to find like the needle that has the largest eye.
Right. I also got embroidery needles, but I don't feel like the eyes are big enough, to be honest.
That's okay. Sometimes what you can do is split the thread as well, which is what I did. Like I got this twine that's a very, very thick, and I ended up just splitting it into a thinner thread. So get your needle through. And you want to sew it just like you're hand sewing a shirt. And the way that I thread the needle too is like I just leave a little bit of lag. Like you don't have to. You know how when you're sewing and you double up the thread, you don't have to.
I know how when I'm sewing and I double. No, girl, like I'm not sewing. Like I don't know how when I'm. No, I haven't sewn in a very, very long time.
You'd be like, I don't be about that life.
Oh my goodness, this is
the
thing.
I thread it like this for anybody that's watching us trying it out. Like just leave a couple inches on the other side.
Speaking of learning new things, do you remember a specific time when you had to and were in the process of learning something new that like kind of either intimidated you or scared you? And like, can you tell me more about that experience or
moment? Photography.
Really?
Yes, I hated photo 1, black and white. I hated that class. Even though I had a really great instructor, but it was just I could not understand shooting manual. Like that just was like I don't get it. There's numbers, it's math, and when you're in art school, like you don't take math. You go to art school so you don't have to take math. So yeah, that was super intimidating, and it really just comes down to being intimidated by the technology of it or by the tool because there's something intricate or you're not taking the time to try to understand it.
Right.
And so for a long time, I just had my camera just sitting there. And two, it's an expensive course. So you're not only are you paying the course fee and the lab fee, but you're paying a good $500 just in photo equipment.
Right.
And so I was already pissed off by that. And I just didn't get it. I just didn't get it because it forced you to use a side of your creative brain that you're not accustomed to. Like the design creative brain can be very different than the fine arts creative brain.
Mm.
Because design is like you're creating to solve a problem. Like that's what the distinction is, and it can be very there's rules to follow. Whereas like photography, there's no rules. You just shoot
Oh,
and you experiment, and you just like you're a little more free with it. And so finally, when I hey,
I got it.
mm-hmm. So finally, when I just was like, you know what, I'm gonna just shoot and I'm gonna just like figure it out. And it was actually really good for me to do that because I was getting way too overwhelmed with design thinking.
Go ahead. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's good to
And
know.
currently, I'm trying to learn how to skateboard, and then I was just like, my shins hurt. So that's frustrating too. It's
So
challenging.
for the chat, how do you all navigate learning something new? If you like have a particular like go-to approach or something that you generally do when you're learning something new that maybe is uncomfortable or unfamiliar or whatever the case is, like please include it in the chat. I would be curious to hear because starting new stuff can be very challenging, especially a lot of people don't realize that like when you're starting something new, you kind of have to not be great. Like you're going
Yeah.
to stink.
And I think too, when people try something new, they like expecting to like hit a home run every time. Like it's like playing baseball for the first time and expecting to hit a home run. Like everybody has that moment. It's that ego thing, and you gotta check your ego when you're learning something new. But I think you cannot be afraid to like suck at something.
Oh no, you or rather you can be afraid, but if you're interested, right, in like doing that thing, you have to be okay with sucking at that
Yeah,
for a while.
yeah. And I feel like if you can just going through that process enough will yield really great work.
Yeah.
That's my all right, you got it good. So start your thread stitches from the inside. Can you kind of see where mine is?
So you started it on the second one and then went up. What do you mean by on the
I
inside?
started on the first hole.
Okay.
Where is it? So I went in through this first hole, and then you could see it on the back,
Oh, okay.
out, and then back in.
So you went like I'm pulling it out,
Mhm.
and then you went to the second hole.
Yes.
Did you knot the bottom?
No, don't knot it yet. So
Okay.
just leave enough for you to knot it at the end.
Okay.
And two, like there's so many ways that you can sew it, but I like to start this way.
Okay, cool.
And so it's just in and out, in and out.
Do you am I also putting it through one more time so that let me see yours?
I'm just going all the way down the line.
Let me see the inside though. Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah, so you started on the inside.
Yep, I started on the inside.
All right, let me try this again. Cool.
So you're gonna go in and out.
Okay. I am honestly really gonna have to focus on this.
It's all good. You want me to just give a gab while you focus?
No. I'm gonna make this happen. Let me look at the chat real quickly. Just a lot of self-convincing and rewarding yourself with a treat at the end. Okay. It looks like a higher clap. Honestly, dope friends to remind me that I'm learning and to give myself grace. Help me keep going and doing the new things. Yeah, I agree with that.
Mhm.
Okay. As we're talking about like doing new things and like them not necessarily looking the way you want them to look, I feel like this book may be we're gonna see how it comes out. We are going to
It'll be
see
your first book.
how it comes out. So how are you navigating through all of the current changes and uncertainty that's happening right now?
I mean, professionally, it's a really good time to be a freelancer, to be honest. It is a really good time because companies, they're laying off people because they can't afford to keep people on salary and pay for benefits. And when you're a freelancer, they're not obligated to pay you any benefits, and they pay you on a project to project basis rather than every week or every 2 weeks. So it's a really good time to be a freelancer. And so the routine hasn't changed much. The only difference is like if there are freelance projects that come around that generally I would have worked on site, it would be off site or it would be remote. Like for instance, like if I were to get a contract at Hasbro, I would work from home. But in terms of like,
as like outside of work, right? Like you, the person, how are you navigating the change?
Personally, it is every few weeks, it's like an emotional roller coaster. It's just like you got to go through the ebbs and flow of it, and it's forced me to like, it's challenged me in ways that I've never been challenged before. Of just like, cause I'm not somebody that like deals with a lot of like mental health issues, but like now I know what a little taste of depression feels like, or a little taste of anxiety, and just trying to make sure that I think giving yourself the space to kind of experience it so that you know like what the triggers are. And then too, sometimes like crazy stuff happens and then a week later you're feeling really low. And it's because you haven't processed what that a thing happened immediately, you know?
Right. Or had enough time to.
Yeah. And I think it's definitely very challenging because we don't have an end date for this. And I find myself like I find a lot of like refuge in escapism. That's why I watch so many movies. Like, and for anybody that's on Close Friends, because I'd be reckless on Close Friends, but I like just talk about movies a lot because I watch a lot of movies to like escape this. And one of the things that this time has made me think about is like platonic intimacy.
Ooh,
like because I have
a bit more about what you mean by that.
So I have just like really great friendships that are almost like romantic in ways, I feel like, but not romantic in the sense of like what we traditionally know.
Right.
And so I realize how much I'm like I miss it. Like I fantasize about like getting a hug from my friend.
Right.
And thinking a lot about just like when I went to, because I went on vacation right before quarantine. This is like March. I went to Hawaii for a week, and that was like the loneliest I've ever felt. And I've never experienced loneliness. But it's just like
loneliness?
Not really. Maybe like one other time before that. I just don't. I'm somebody that really enjoys solitude. Like I love my own company. I'll be sitting there cackling and telling jokes to myself. Like I really do love my own company, but I remember being on that trip and I'm like, damn, this is kind of lonely because I'm not sharing this experience with anybody. And I think for me, it's really important to experience loneliness and sit with that feeling, even if it like sucks. Like sometimes you got to just sit with that.
It's tough. Is there like a book or a show or a song that's like helping you kind of like get through day to day?
Karangbin. I was listening to that. Karangbin.
Okay.
I was listening to that early during quarantine. I was listening to a lot of Marvin Gaye.
Really?
A lot of Marvin Gaye and a lot of just like jazz music from Japan.
Really?
Yes. I decided I was just like, I'm gonna just consume stuff that is not US American.
Right.
Too, which is I feel like is important to do for anybody that is like trying to figure out how to stay sane, but also be proactive with whatever like political like resistance that's going on right now. But like taking time to just like really consume things that are totally outside of your perspective.
Right. For those of y'all in the chat, what's a book, a song, a show getting you through this time? I'm curious. So for me, listen, when I tell you I am on season 5 of Girlfriends, I'm not playing the game.
Yo, I was so offended that Netflix had the skip intro like button. like seriously, it was just like, see, y'all don't really know. You don't skip the intro to Girlfriends. You have to sing it every single time.
It's an incredible intro song. It is definitely, and I feel like they use it throughout pretty much the entire like show, right? Now you see how the needle came out and the thread came out?
It did. Oh, damn.
So we're gonna see if I can try to get this back in. But I mean, I'm pretty much at this. I just had one more to do.
Cool. And so like once you get through, hold on, I'm gonna unthread it. I'm gonna take some steps back.
Yep.
Just to show you what it should look like on the inside once you've gone through that first round of stitches.
I'm gonna look at the chat really quickly too. Okay, they're talking about what you shared, Girlfriends, yo. I'm wrapping up season 4. Cool.
You know what's so crazy about like, because I've been really deep into 2000s and Y2K aesthetic. Because I was watching The Brothers, and
sorry,
it's such a good movie. First of all,
good, but like I watched it as an adult, and I was like, wow, this is a really wild movie.
It's like a Black Men Don't Cheat after school special. Like it really is. It really is.
And they were all like 20, like 8, 20.
Yeah. And they're like, yo, man, I'm trying to get married
together.
Yeah, and it's just like, yo, we're at that age, and like I still sleep in a twin size bed. Like, come on, Joan. Like you're talking about how you want to get married and all this stuff, and panicking about turning 30, and I'm just like, bruh.
Listen, Joan's season 4 is nothing but stress. Nothing but stress. But
your first pass through, can you see what it looks like?
Yeah, I mean yours looks great. Mine is we're here.
Oh,
we're doing
yes, that's awesome.
Way, but we're here. We're here.
And then you want to just like fill in the gaps. So I went in and out all the way through to the last stitch, and then now you flip it over and you go back through to fill those gaps.
Oh, perfect. Okay, I can do that.
Earbuds fell out.
Oh, apparently I can't. Oh my goodness. Hold on. I gotta go back on that one.
And sometimes it gets a little tricky because it gets real thick in these streets. But yo, 20-year-olds were stressed in the 2000s, like stressed for no reason.
Isn't it funny how you think back to stuff like that and you're like, wow, like, I mean, I was stressed and I had reason at the time, but life is so much more stressful or complex now. Okay. What or who is bringing you joy right now? And like, in what ways?
My hair.
Ooh, tell me more.
Because I finally feel like I have agency over it. Like, I cut it last year, which I've been wanting to do because I cut it for like utilitarian purposes. It's just easier to deal with. It wasn't on no like Black woman big chop energy. But then I cried about it. I bawled my eyes out. Like a few hours after cutting my hair, I sobbed.
You know why?
Because I felt like I was losing some of my femininity, and then my dad told me I was beautiful, and I was like, I'm good. But it made me like think about like how much we tie our femininity into our hair, and I tend to be very androgynous, and I like that about myself. I like the way that I present myself. It feels very comfortable to me. But so it's like cutting my hair was already a great experience, and then I cut my hair super low by mistake.
Wait, so tell me a little bit about that story. How was it a mistake? Like, were you giving yourself like the Caesar fade, or was someone cutting your hair?
I was cutting my own hair. So you know how I've always had it like I have a little bit at the top. Like I usually keep a little bit at the top, and then it's like fade on the side and a taper, right?
Do you usually do it yourself, or do you usually go to a barber?
I usually go to a barber. I go to my brother's barber. We share the same barber. But this time I was having my mom kind of like fix the back. Like I had it perfect. I was taking my time, and I had my mom fix it, and then she took a little too much off the side.
So this is the barbershop movie. This is the barbershop movie.
Yeah, she took a little too much, and I was like, "Fuck! I gotta like start over. I gotta like shave it all off." And so I was shaving it, and I had the guard on to just do like an inch, and then the guide fell off, and then it was just naked blade, like the metal blade, and I was just bald, and then I had my brother just make me totally bald.
Wow.
And then it grew, but then he was like, "Yo, Allie, like just give it a couple weeks, and it's gonna grow in real nice. You're gonna have a real nice Caesar and everything." Like he's very encouraging.
It sounds like it. That sounds very encouraging to me.
He was very nurturing, and so I ended up sticking with just cutting it low like that. And then I was like, you know what? I've been wanting to dye my hair pink, and I told you like my goal was to be Cisco for Halloween, because I was like, oh, I want to dye my hair and be Cisco. You know, I love Cisco. Icon.
Listen. 3 most favorite things about Cisco. Go.
He does too much. Still, like when I think of top vocalists of like 90s R&B groups, like Wanye is number 1. Which one is it?
Listen, all Drew Hill can sing. Every single one of those men can sing.
And then Cisco can really sing people under the table and do cartwheels in a red leather suit, and it's hot.
Yes.
And he had Cisco's, the Cisco dance video show on MTV. Remember Cisco where he would where it was like one of those like it was like Soul Train but on MTV Spring Break, and he used to spray paint like S's on people to get them on the main stage.
So I'm sorry, I need you to pause for a second because I probably didn't have cable at this time. The first time that I had consistent cable was when I attended Boston University as a freshman. So I don't know what we're referencing in terms of, but the spraying S's on people, it sounds
in silver spray paint.
I believe it. It sounds on brand. It sounds like a great show, and I don't know why I wasn't renewed.
But like Cisco was it in the 2000s. He was it, and he was like, and he had Lover. Do you remember that group Lover?
No.
He had his own group, and he just like had his own thing outside of Def Jam, which I feel like needs to be acknowledged. Okay, so people need to give Cisco his roses. And he sang the song at his own wedding.
That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. We're a bit over time, but so what are the final steps of what I'm doing?
You got to the end?
Yeah.
You're all set? All right. Then you want to tie the knot. Where's your So what I did is like I looped it back through. So once you get it through, loop it back through so that each ends of the string are on the same side. So it's on the both ends of the string are on the inside.
Both ends of the string are on the inside. All right, we're gonna try it, Allie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I did it correctly, but we're definitely gonna try. Let's see. And then after that, I'm gonna tie it.
Yes. So you have a little, can you kind of see where I'm at?
Yep.
And then you fold it.
And then that's it?
Yeah, and then you fold it, and then you got your book.
Wow. I didn't realize that. I mean, it definitely wasn't like, I wouldn't say it was easy per se. Like I probably still did not do it.
I probably just suck at instructions.
But
and too, like if you're a visual learner, it can be hard to.
Yeah, no, there's something here. I did something. I made a book.
Oh,
Oh, I see what happened here. Okay, that's fine.
I don't know. I feel like you got to give yourself an A plus just for the beeswax thing, because I was like,
Oh
oh,
no! Listen, I was gonna give myself an A plus either way. I'm gonna be honest with you. My drink came out well. Like the
hmm
book is doing its thing. I think one of the last things I hold on real quickly. Oh, nice. Okay, cool. Oh, we're out here. Hello.
And I
Hello.
like that you use craft paper.
I love craft paper.
It's
Like,
a, it's a,
I
it's
like
a
the
good,
feel.
it's a good tool. But
Oh,
yeah, these are like, I've made like a bunch of these little books.
that's very awesome. Well, thank you, Allie, for joining me in conversation and some cocktails and sharing how to make these dope books. I'm definitely gonna make another one and see if I can do it a little bit better.
Yeah, or watch some videos too.
Yep. For those of you in the chat, thank you so much for joining in. I really appreciate you. We really appreciate you. Last but not least, like, what's one thing for those in the chat? What's one thing, whether it's a book, a show, a song, a person, one thing that's like bringing